There is nothing like making my own custom fun cutouts with my ScanNCut. And here you can see I'm starting a test. Here I have happy birthday. What I want to do here for this particular card, actually I really love look how detailed this cuts out for me. I mean, you can really just see all the little bits and pieces. And here's the great part. This is my handwriting, okay? And even though it's my handwriting, it's not going to show any of my really minor imperfections, and I always think it comes out so cool. So let me show you, first of all, let me show you how I do this. First I take a pencil, because on the finished design, the light pencil contrasted with the black pen, the light pencil is not going to pick up on the ScanNCut. So the first thing I do is write out whatever it is that I'm wanting to say. In this case, happy birthday, and I was wanting to do happy birthday just straight across, but I'm finding that what was going to work better, because this I want to fit onto a card, and this I have a piece of printer paper just folded in 4, so size-wise I don't get too crazy. So I'm just kind of playing around with pencil, how I see this going, where I see the letters going, and I'm not worrying about anything at all. We are not worrying about is it going to work out? Is the size going to be just right? I really liked how this letter H came out on my last one. And of course, the nature of the beast here, it's not always going to come out exactly the same. What I was not happy about is if I wanted to leave, I was going to use the paper part here. This section, it cut absolutely everything out, but it left it in a way, you can probably guess that says birthday, but it cut too much out. So I need more spacing down here on the end between the A and the Y. So I can just kind of play with, erase. I'm not trying to get this perfect, I'm just trying to get the letters where I want them. Once you are happy, or fairly happy with your design, take a black pen that is thin, not a super thick one, and you're going to just sketch out your design. Now here's the thing. The thin pen, if you were to put this in the machine right now, it would cut a single line. So what we want is a thicker pen, and this is, you can do this 2 ways. You can take your thin pen and go in here and add like so, okay? Or you can come in here with a thick pen, and remember, it doesn't really matter the pen, you know, if is it waterproof, is it this, is it that, it does not matter, because this is just going to be for scanning. And I'm just making the P's straight on this because of how I want this to look. And I was trying to make this just so, but here's the thing, guys. This particular one, I want it to look kind of sketchy. This is a man's birthday card. I don't want it to look just so. Now, I probably just messed that up, and that's probably not going to do well. Why? Well, because those two are practically touching, so I'm afraid that I just messed that up. But I can fix that a couple ways. I could cut out in between these two and scan them separately. Or I could, if I'm happy with the happy, cut that part out and scan that and then redo birthday on another paper and put that in too. So that's something to consider as well. You have multiple words. You can decide if you want to get it all right onto one, if you want to do one and then the other. It's totally your call. Here's my original, and the reason why I kind of move this, as you can see, it's too big to fit across. And you can see why over here I ran into the issue when it's cutting out, because you can see how this whole thing is basically connected, so it just went solid. As it turned out, it was easier for me to go a little bit bigger, and if I look in the light, I can barely kind of see the pencil and pen marks where I was. And I also separated the words so that once I got one the way I liked it, then I didn't have to worry about the second word, and then independently scan them in. And to do that, all you would go is go into Scan, Scan to cut data, and click start, and it will just scan it right in. And once it has scanned in, you see on here it's showing like it's red. What I like to do is, if you go, you can see the different options here. Obviously, it kind of speaks for itself. Down here, if there are overlapping lines, they're going to both cut. This one is if you want to outline everything so that you can get the most detail. And then this one is if you just wanted the absolute outline. I like this middle one, at least for this, for what I'm doing. And I also drag my little margins here way in to reduce this file size. And I do this so that the size of it is clear, and then when it saves to this size here, which I can of course then adjust, which was our next step. And then I'm saving it to the machine. Once it tells me I have saved it, we are ready to get cutting. Next, we're going to go into saved data, and it's very important that we follow the steps here. First, I'm going in and retrieving the happy, and before I do anything else, this is very important, I'm going to go in here. If I was to move anything on this screen, and I will show you here, look at what happens. The whole word doesn't move, individual pieces, and obviously that would be a huge, just horrible, you'll never get it back. You just have to go back and start again. So instead of making a horrible mess, we're going to go in here and click this button at the top and this little red squares button. And what we are telling it is right here that we want all the shapes to come together, and it identifies all the shapes there. Okay. And push this button here. Do we want to unify the patterns? Yes, we do. Okay. That we want to do. Then we're going to go in and add again, this time the birthday. All right, so I'm selecting this. I don't want this because that would select every piece. I want this one because then I can just kind of go in here and make sure that the happy has nothing to do with the birthday. We're going to say okay. So only those birthday pieces are selected. And then we're going to do the same thing where we push this button right here, the shapes with the red outline. That is going to unify that pattern. Yes. Okay, so now, I mean, that sounds like silly steps, but here's the thing. Now I can drag around the word birthday. Now I can drag around the word happy. Now is when I can come in here and, let's see, let's make the happy, we're going to make it 4.25 inches wide and see where we end up with that. And then the birthday, you know what? And I can play around with, how do I want the happy? How do I want the birthday? Do I want the happy to be smaller than the birthday? I can play around with all of this stuff. I can also get that way, way down because that is just way too big. Okay, so now I can play around with these. And I'm also going to drag them over to this side because I want this card to fold in the center there. So this is going to be a great way that I can work, make sure that everybody fits all nicely in there. And if I need to look a bit here, I can go in here and move. If I want to make sure that that's not just too close, I can come in here and just kind of nudge that up and down until I like the look of it. The other thing I can do is I can rotate so that the happy birthday is, oh, that was maybe too much. But I can rotate the happy birthday so that it's a little more angled. Okay, and maybe nudge it up a tiny bit. Okay, I feel ready to cut right here. We're not committed to this. What we're doing right here, we don't absolutely have to use it as it is. So I'm going to run a test cut first and foremost. And actually, well, I say test cut. I don't actually mean that I'm going to use the machine's test cutting function. What I mean is I am going to see here. Let's see, first of all, I'm going to go here and do this. This will scan in and show me where my paper is, and it'll also show me if my paper is big enough or if I need to not do this on a tag, if instead of a tag, I need to get out some real paper to do this. And as I was kind of suspecting, this is just slightly too big. One word or the other would work. They're not both gonna fit. So I'm gonna get a bigger piece of paper here to do this onto. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out. I'm not sure that this is gonna be our final card piece, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out because I think that at this point we are at a place where this should show us what we have and if we're happy with it before we move on to the next step. All right, so I went ahead and put my paper that I think I want to use for this card in the machine and cut. You don't need to watch all the cutting. And look at that. I'm really excited about this because I have some ideas now for how I'm going to make this super, super fun and cute and simple. And I've got enough for 2 cards in one because look, I've got my original, or the cutout, I should say, I guess. And I really like how this came out. And I like that, I love that this is my handwriting, but to me, the version here does not look like my handwriting. To me, the version here is just like somebody else's cool handwriting or something. Anyhow, now, and this would be not a super huge pain, but you can see how doing this, the way that I did this, it would be better if you wanted the happy birthday. It would be easier if I had done more connected letters, but it looks better if this is the side you're going to use. It looks better if there's a lot of spaces and gaps and things. So initially I thought, let's make a shaker box. And what I did here was I just put a bunch of little stuff where it would show, so it looked like a shaker box, but it actually, or a shaker card, I should say, but it wasn't. There was no shaking. It was just things glued to look like that. And I'm really unhappy with the results of this. So that's not the direction I'm going to go. And I was trying to, you know, kind of looked at, well, why am I not happy with this? What do I want to redo? And here's the best part. It took me all of about, 1 minute because I had not deleted my work yet. So all I had to do was go onto the ScanNCut with another piece of cardstock, hit print, or excuse me, cut, hello, hit the cut button, and off we went. And what I'm doing here is putting a lot of adhesive down. And the reason I'm putting a lot of adhesive down is all of these lovely little parts are going to want to wiggle, and we don't want them to. You don't need to get every single little nook and cranny, and you could use some liquid adhesive as well. In fact, I may use just a few drops. And actually, the way I like to put it on here, I actually have some liquid adhesive right here. And what I'm going to want to do is just kind of use a paintbrush. If you don't have a liquid adhesive with a fine tip applicator, this is a good way to do it. If, like me, you have like a big jar and it's going to go squirting out everywhere. This is a great way to do this because you can get a very small amount. And there are so many applications to this. I mean, we could like do some wild watercoloring to color our card. We could do so many fun things. It's such a fun thing. And really, it's so easy because I like my handwriting so much better when it's been cut out by the ScanNCut. I don't know what that's about, but I sure do like it, and it sure does make me glad to be working with Brother and also to have my own ScanNCut because it means I can play with this machine, well, maybe not every day, but quite often here in the studio. Okay, so when I'm happy that most things, I do really, really want to get a lot on there. And when I'm happy with it, I'm just going to kind of place it here on the card. And I'm squaring things up to the top because I didn't think that my card was going to be quite the right size, the card front that I already had. And I'm correct. And I squared up with the front, or the top, excuse me, because I can now trim that little bit of bottom off. Not a problem at all. Now we have options. There are lots of things I could do. If, for example, I wanted to kind of mask off and do things so that the white inside here does not get colored or misted or anything like that, what I could do would be to place these pieces back in. The only thing you're really going to want to make sure is you're really going to want to make sure that whatever you had, if you had liquid adhesive, that it is dry before you do this because things will stick. Okay, but you can kind of place these things in here, and does not have to be perfect. Not at all. But if we put these things in here, and I didn't worry about finding the centers of those particular letters, but if I were to do this and then say, splatter this area with some mist, I could also get some, there we go, say, come on. There's other things I can do here too. I'm going to go ahead and let some of those droplets fall into the exposed. There we go. So I get kind of crazy with the mist. I could also let this dry and I could stamp onto it. And basically these letters here are going to act kind of like a mask so that when I remove it, more of the things that I've been doing should not show up there in the letters. As I said, you could totally stamp on this, and I'm going to take kind of a rich aqua blue dye ink and just press down on here, and it's not going to quite cover the entire surface, so I'm just going in and re-stamping a little. And then I'm also going to stitch around the edges, but at this point I just want to see how my theory worked out. I know because I was using mist that some of it's going to get under there because I didn't like really get that down there super hard, but I love the idea that I could put this all together and assemble it and then do all the embellishing instead of having to have done this, say, separately on something else, doing something that maybe would have taken a lot more time or effort. So I definitely like how this is going, and I was thinking about more mist, but I think instead of that, what I'm actually going to do, it looks like one little piece got stuck. If you get a piece stuck, all you need to get is just like a little pin or pick, and you'll be able to fix that right up. Right here on the letter D, I've got a little piece of paper that is stuck, and it's no problem. I can fix that in a jiffy. I like how that turned out. And yeah, there were a few little gold dots, so it wasn't totally successful, but it was super fun to do. And I enjoyed myself, and isn't that the most important thing? I know I think it is. So my final step here, just to embellish this a bit, I'll take a little bit, maybe a little bit of glitter, maybe a few beads, and a few sequins, and just sprinkle a few on here and there on my card, trim this off, stitch the edge, and it's ready to give to anyone. I hope you have enjoyed this video tutorial, and I hope you see, especially if you have a ScanNCut, how much fun it can be to use your own handwriting to make your next birthday card. I'll see you next time.